The first time Karen saw Malik, he was standing in front of Carter and Wells Bank with nothing but a second-hand saxophone and a bucket labeled College Fund. His music was soulful, gentle, too gentle for someone like her. She rolled down the window of her Lexus, eyes scanning the street like she owned it. "You can't be here," she snapped, stepping out. People turned. Malik didn't. He kept playing. It was Strange Fruit. A haunting tune, sung through brass and breath. That alone made her angry. It wasn't just the sound. It was him. A young black man in a leather jacket, playing songs that reminded people of things they'd rather forget. Karen's voice grew louder. "Hey, I said you can't be here. This is a business zone, not a block party." Still, he didn't speak. The camera on her phone was already rolling. "Disturbing the peace," she muttered to herself. She dialed 911. "I need an officer dispatched. There's a man playing loud, aggressive music outside Carter and Wells. It feels threatening." Malik paused. Only then did he look up. His eyes were steady, not afraid, not apologetic, just tired. And without a word, he picked up his bucket, 13 times and a gum wrapper, and walked away. But the city hadn't seen the last of him. 5 blocks away, in a small park near Main Street, Malik set up again. No bucket this time. No sign. Just music. A little girl tugged her mother's sleeve, smiling. A food delivery guy slowed his bike to listen. An older couple sat on the bench near him and held hands. And then, the black SUV arrived. It didn't belong to Karen. It belonged to someone else watching everything unfold. Someone with power. Someone who knew exactly who Malik was, and who Karen had just threatened. The next morning, a video clip went viral. Not the one Karen posted. Hers got 5 angry reacts and a typo-filled rant in the caption. No, this one was different. It showed Malik playing in the rain, the melody rising like smoke through the city. And in the background, her voice, screaming, demanding, threatening. But the camera didn't focus on her. It zoomed in on Malik's face. And that face, someone recognized it. Someone from City Hall. That's how the first string unraveled. But before we get to the mayor's press conference, the public apology, and the news crew ambush on Karen's driveway, you need to know what happened before the spotlight. You need to know why Malik was on that street corner in the first place, and what it meant for him not to speak. Because the real story didn't start with the saxophone. It started with silence, and one promise he made to his mother. And every time he played, it wasn't just music. It was a question, a protest, a prayer, and maybe, just maybe, it was his way of being heard in a world that only listened once things went viral. Most people knew him as that quiet sax guy, a regular fixture near the flower stand on 6th and Elm. But no one really knew him. Not even the mayor, because Malik had stopped being the mayor's son a long time ago. Malik grew up in a house with bulletproof windows and a piano that no one played anymore. His mother used to call it the Cold Castle. That's what it became after she passed. Cold, silent, and full of echoes that didn't speak his name. He was 17 when she died. Cancer. The night she took her last breath, Malik sat by her bed, holding her hand while she whispered 3 words. Play for peace. He didn't understand what it meant then. He does now. After the funeral, things changed fast. His father, Mayor Malik Monroe, buried his grief under podium speeches and press releases. He didn't cry. He didn't cook. He didn't even look Malik in the eyes when he handed him the scholarship letter to Juilliard. Instead, he said, "Your mother would have wanted this. Don't waste it." But Malik never went. Instead, he walked out of the Cold Castle with nothing but a photo of his mother, her favorite Miles Davis record, and an old saxophone she'd given him when he was 8. He disappeared from the press, from private school, from legacy. He became invisible, and he liked it that way. Every day, Malik played in a different part of the city. Not for money, Not for praise. He played for the single mom carrying groceries who couldn't afford a therapist. For the war vet on the park bench who cried when he heard, "What a wonderful world." For the janitor on lunch break who always said, "Man, you got an old soul." And sometimes, for himself. He wore a hoodie, never looked up, never posted online. But he always left behind one thing: a folded napkin with a quote from his mother, written in her handwriting. "Play for peace, not applause." He carried dozens in his bag, like little paper prayers. People thought it was some kind of performance art. It wasn't. It was grief, folded small enough to fit in a pocket. Then Karen happened, and everything Malik had spent years keeping quiet was suddenly loud. The night after Karen called the police, Malik didn't go home. He sat near the alley behind the jazz bar his mom used to take him to. He didn't play. He didn't speak. He just sat, holding one of her napkins. The ink was fading, and that's when someone sat next to him. A man in a dark coat, gray stubble, familiar cologne. His father. "I saw the video," Mayor Monroe said. "No press crew, no security detail. Just a father, awkward and too late. You're making waves, son." Malik didn't reply. "You've always had your mother's fire. I see that now." Still, Malik said nothing. "You're not just playing music, are you?" That's when Malik looked up. For the first time in years. And in that glance was everything. His father didn't ask him to come home. Didn't offer money, didn't give a speech. He just left behind a new box of napkins. Blank. That night, Malik wrote her quote again, but this time in his handwriting. He folded the napkin, tucked it into his sax case, and walked into the city, not to play for peace, but to fight for it. Every napkin left behind was a quiet rebellion, a promise he'd keep making, until silence was no longer the only option. 3 days later, he returned to the same spot, same corner, same song, same folded napkin tucked under his saxophone case. But this time, Malik wasn't invisible. A barista from the coffee shop next door came out with a free muffin. A sanitation worker gave him a thumbs up, and a teenage girl live-streamed him on TikTok with the caption, "This man made my dad cry with just one note." The crowd wasn't huge, but it was growing. Then she showed up. "Karen, new sunglasses, expensive handbag, same entitled stride." This time she didn't yell. She smiled for the camera. Hers. She held it up like a badge of honor. "I'm here to file a formal complaint," she said, circling him like a cat sizing up a wounded bird. "This man is disturbing the peace. Again, I have footage, I have witnesses, and I'm not afraid to sue the city for enabling this." Malik didn't stop playing. She turned to the small crowd. "Does anyone here actually want to hear this noise every day?" Silence. She pressed a button on her phone and put it on speaker. 911, what's your emergency?" "There's a repeat offender violating sound ordinances at the corner of 6th and Elm. It's the same man from before. Yes, I have proof." This time the police showed up fast. 2 officers, one older, one young. They walked up to Malik slowly, carefully. The young one kept a hand near his belt. Karen grinned. Malik stopped playing. He didn't speak. The older officer cleared his throat. "Sir, do you have a permit to perform here?" Malik reached into his coat pocket, slowly, and handed him a laminated card. "Temporary busking permit, valid, signed, stamped." The officer blinked, looked at Karen. She frowned. "Well, it can't be legal if it's offensive." A man from the crowd stepped forward. "Ma'am, he's not doing anything wrong." A woman followed. "He's been here all week. He helped my kid after school yesterday." A third voice joined in. "That's Malik. He's a musician, not a criminal." Karen turned red. "You're all just virtue signaling," she snapped. "This is still my neighborhood." The younger officer looked uneasy. The older one took a breath and said, "Ma'am, he's not breaking any laws. You're free to leave." Karen opened her mouth to argue, but someone in the crowd was already recording, and this time, she was the main character. Malik still hadn't said a word, But as Karen stormed off, heels clacking against the sidewalk, she turned back one last time. And that's when she saw it. Taped to the side of the saxophone case was a black and white photo of Malik as a child, standing next to a smiling woman. And beside her, wearing a mayoral sash, was Malik Monroe. Karen froze. She wasn't the only one who noticed. The video would later go viral with the caption, "Racist Karen calls cops on black musician, then finds out who his father is." But in the moment, nobody said a thing, except the barista. She walked up and gently placed a new napkin beside the old one. This time, she'd written the quote by hand. "Play for peace, not applause." Malik looked up, just once, and nodded. Not at Karen, at the city. Sometimes you don't have to raise your voice to change the noise. You just have to hold the note long enough for others to hear. The crowd dispersed. The cops left. Karen disappeared into her Lexus, her face twisted in a cocktail of confusion and defeat. But Malik didn't stay to savor the moment. He packed up his saxophone, pocketed the napkin, and walked away. No words, no victory, no celebration. He didn't go home. He didn't even have one. Instead, he went to the community center where he sometimes slept. The back office, technically a storage room, had become a quiet retreat. No one asked questions there. Just dusty trophies, old jazz posters, silence. Exactly what he needed. Malik sat on the floor, the saxophone across his lap like a weight he no longer wanted to carry. He opened his phone for the first time that day. Messages flooded in. "Yo, is this you? You're all over Twitter. That Karen got wrecked, bro. The mayor's kid? For real? Can we interview you for a podcast?" He turned it off. A knock. Then a voice through the door. "Someone's here to see you." He didn't respond. A few minutes later, the door creaked open anyway. It was his father. Again. The mayor was still in his suit, tie loosened, sleeves rolled. This time, no media, no team, no talking points. Just tired eyes and a paper bag of food from the diner down the street. He set it down quietly. Malik didn't look up. "You were trending this morning," the mayor said, sitting on an old folding chair. "Apparently you're a symbol of silent resistance." Malik finally spoke. His voice was lower than usual, heavy. "I didn't ask to be a symbol." The mayor nodded. "And I didn't ask to be your mouthpiece," Malik added. "Don't twist this into some PR moment." "I'm not," his father said. Silence. "You should have stood up for Mom when she was sick," Malik muttered. "Instead, you stood behind podiums." His father didn't defend himself. He just looked down at the paper bag. "She would have loved that napkin," he said quietly. "That broke something." Malik stood up. His voice trembled now. Anger wrapped in grief. "She died in that house, alone, while you were out shaking hands and making speeches about community values. You want to show up now, after a TikTok video goes viral?" He laughed. It was hollow. "You were never there. Not once. And now you think I want help?" The mayor didn't flinch. "I didn't come to help you," he said. "I came to listen." For a moment, Malik just stared. And then, he sat back down. Not because he forgave him, but because he had no energy left to hate him. They sat in silence for a long while. Two men who loved the same woman, but mourned her in completely different languages. Eventually, the mayor spoke. "You said once you'd never use my name," he said. Malik nodded. "I still won't." "That's okay." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small envelope, folded carefully. Malik hesitated before taking it. Inside was a photo. His mother, at a city rally, holding a sign that read, "Love loud, lead quiet." Malik had never seen that one before. "She never needed a mic," the mayor said. "She just stood where people could see her." Malik didn't reply. But that night when his father left, he unfolded a new napkin and wrote a different quote. "She stood, so I will too." He placed it in his sax case, along with the old one. Two napkins, two promises, both still unspoken, but ready to be heard. Sometimes the loudest protest isn't a speech. It's a silence that refuses to break, even when the whole world listens. The city hadn't changed, but the people were watching differently now. Since the Karen video, Malik had stopped moving from corner to corner. He stayed on 6th and Elm. Same spot, same song, same silence. Except this time the silence spoke. More napkins began to appear. People started folding their own and leaving them beside his sax case. Quotes, lyrics, prayers. A nurse wrote, "Justice whispers before it screams." A high schooler scrawled, "I want to be seen like this man is seen." Someone left a single word. Enough. Then it happened. It was Thursday afternoon. A warm day, crowds buzzing, food trucks parked nearby. Another musician, a kid named Terrence, had set up his guitar 2 blocks away. He was 19. Black. Played gospel covers. 2 officers approached. Not the same ones from before. This time they weren't calm. One officer grabbed the kid's guitar strap. The other started yelling, "No permit, that's it, you're done." Terrence tried to explain that he did have a permit, that he'd shown it the day before. But the cops didn't listen. One of them pushed him toward the curb. The other pulled his bag open. People stopped. Phones came out. The crowd grew. Malik was 5 storefronts away. He heard the shouting before he saw it. And for the first time in years, he ran. By the time he got there, Terrence was on the ground. The officer's hand was on his chest. Malik stepped forward, raising his voice for the first time since his mother died. "Let him up." Everyone turned. The cop looked confused until he recognized him. "You again?" the officer scoffed. "What is this, a protest tour?" Malik stepped closer. "That boy has a permit, and you're violating protocol." The officer rolled his eyes. Malik reached into his pocket and pulled out his own laminated card. Then Terrence's, which he had helped file online weeks ago. "This one's signed, stamped, just like mine." The second officer paused, looked around. Dozens of phones, dozens of witnesses. "Back off," the first officer said to him. But it was too late. A voice rang out from the crowd. "That's the mayor's son." The pause lasted exactly 1 heartbeat. Then the energy shifted. Not because of the name, but because of the way Malik stood, like a question mark that had turned itself into a full stop. He didn't yell, he didn't cuss, he didn't threaten. He simply held up a napkin, folded, blank, and said, "This one's for you, officer, in case you forgot how to listen." The officer stepped back, and Malik knelt beside Terrence. "You okay?" The boy nodded, eyes wide, shaking. Malik helped him up, picked up the guitar, strapped it back on his shoulder. "Play," he said. Terrence hesitated. Malik smiled. "Let them hear you." He began to strum. A gospel riff. The officer scowled but didn't move. The crowd clapped, and Malik walked back to his corner. Quietly, but not invisible. Not anymore. That night, the footage hit 1.3 million views. You don't have to scream to make noise. Sometimes the loudest protest is just showing up, when someone else is about to disappear. The video hit every platform by morning. Not just TikTok. It spread to Twitter, Instagram, Reddit. Then the evening news. Blackstreet musician defends teen from aggressive officers, without saying a word. But that wasn't what made people stay. It was the clip. 2 minutes, uncut. Malik's face, the folded napkin, the calm voice. The line. "This one's for you, officer, in case you forgot how to listen." The clip didn't explode because it was dramatic. It exploded because it was undeniably human. That afternoon, a local reporter showed up at 6th and Elm. Hair still clipped back from the studio. Makeup just starting to melt in the sun. Malik was there. Same saxophone, same calm, same silence. She asked for an interview. He shook his head, but she didn't leave. She sat down beside him. No mic, no camera. "Just a question. Why don't you speak?" He looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, "Because everyone else already is." She blinked, then turned her phone on. This time he didn't stop her. That interview, all 3 minutes of it, aired on the local 6 p.m. news. It wasn't flashy. It was Malik, sitting on a milk crate, holding his sax, saying things no press team could script. "I'm not here to go viral. I'm here because someone has to be. I don't speak because I'm angry. I speak because silence got me through grief. Now I want it to get someone else through injustice. I don't care if they know my name. But that last part didn't hold, because someone did know his name, and they were watching. From City Hall, from a quiet corner office 3 floors above, a city in motion. Mayor Malik Monroe stood in front of a muted TV screen, staring at his son. The silence between them had traveled farther than sound ever could. A knock. "Sir, we have press asking if you'd like to comment." He didn't answer. "Sir, your son's video." "I know." The aide waited. Then, "They're asking if he's yours." The mayor turned around. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. He simply whispered, "Finally." The next morning, the mayor held a press conference. No flags, no formal backdrop. Just a folding podium on 6th and Elm, right where Malik had first played. The crowd was massive. Reporters, city staff, students, musicians, grandmothers. Karen was not invited, but still showed up behind a tree. Cameras flashed. Then the mayor spoke. "I came here not as your mayor," he began, "but as a father who has a lot of listening left to do." Murmurs, whispers, zoom lenses clicked into place. He paused. This young man, the one many of you have watched online, didn't ask for attention. He asked for justice, through silence, through presence, through music. A long breath. "He is my son." Gasps, then applause, but not from Malik, because Malik wasn't there. He was 3 blocks away, playing Strange Fruit. He never wanted the name, only the weight it left behind. That evening, the local paper ran a new headline. "Mayor's son, street musician, protester, same man." And below it, a quote. "I didn't inherit power, I earned voice. We don't choose the names we're born with, but we choose what echoes they leave, and who gets to speak through them." 3 days passed. No press conferences, no tweets, no music, just silence. Malik hadn't played since the mayor spoke his name. The city buzzed, of course. Mayor's son. Silent protest. Strange fruitman. But Malik? He stayed in the background. No interviews, no cameras, not even a napkin. It was as if he'd vanished again, the way he had after his mother's funeral. Only this time, he wasn't grieving her. He was grieving the message, because somehow, in trying to honor her, he'd become a headline. Then, on Sunday morning, something unexpected happened. He returned, 6th and Elm. Same spot, same milk crate. But this time, something was different. There was a crowd. Not massive, just present. Kids, elders, nurses in scrubs, poets, vendors. A saxophonist who once gave Malik his first reed. They didn't cheer. They didn't chant. They just listened. Malik opened his case. He didn't speak. But he unfolded a single napkin and placed it at his feet. It was blank. He was inviting them to write the next quote. Then he lifted the saxophone and played. The notes didn't demand. They invited. Soft, slow, heavy with memory. He played the song his mother used to hum while folding laundry. He played the tune she whistled while watching him practice in the garage. He played not for the city, not for the cameras, not even for the cause. He played for her. And in doing so, he finally played for himself. Halfway through the second song, a hush fell over the crowd. Someone was walking up, not running, not waving, just walking. Mayor Malik Monroe. No suit, no speech folder, no aides. Just a folded napkin in his hand. He stepped beside Malik. Didn't say a word. He sat on the sidewalk, crossed his legs like a student, then placed the napkin beside his son's feet. It read, "Justice doesn't echo unless it begins in silence." Malik saw it. His breath caught for a moment, just enough to miss a note. But he didn't stop playing. Then, the mayor reached into his coat and pulled out a saxophone mouthpiece. Old, scratched. Faded initials, EM. He handed it to Malik. Whispered, "It was your grandfather's. He played before marches, before change." A pause. "Maybe you were never silent. Maybe I just wasn't ready to hear it." Malik took it, held it in his palm. For the first time, he looked his father in the eyes, then nodded. He took the mouthpiece, fixed it on, and played the final note of the song, a sound not of protest, not even peace, but inheritance. The crowd didn't cheer. They stood, dozens, quiet, hand over heart, as if listening not to music, but to a chapter closing. One little girl stepped forward. She placed her own napkin beside the mayor's. Written in pink crayon, "I want to be loud like him when I grow up." Malik smiled. "Not wide, just enough. Legacy doesn't live in names or titles. It lives in who dares to be quiet long enough for others to find their voice." The headlines faded within days. The trending hashtags slowed down. The cameras moved on, but Malik stayed. Same corner, same saxophone, same folded napkins beside the case. But now people came not for the name. They came for the sound, and the silence between notes, the kind that said what no speech ever could. Some nights people still asked, "Is it true? You're really the mayor's son?" Malik always smiled, and replied the same way. "I'm my mother's voice." He never moved into City Hall. He never accepted offers to join the movement or become the face of a cause. He didn't need to be the face. He already was the echo. Every Tuesday, a little girl in braids came to sit beside him. She didn't say much, just hummed along. Her mom worked 2 jobs. Malik taught her to fold napkins. She began writing her own. "Sing louder when you feel smallest. My skin is not noise, it's music." He listened. That's all I ever wanted. And every week the pile of folded truths grew, like fallen leaves carrying whispers instead of wind. The mayor came by once a month, not to speak, just to sit, to listen. He never brought his title, only lilies. Sometimes they played together. Just 2 men, one heeling forward, one heeling backward, both finally whole in the middle. Then one day, Malik disappeared for a week. No sax, no napkins, no quiet melodies on the corner of 6th and Elm. People noticed. The girl left folded notes in his case, even though it sat empty. "Where are you? Come back soon. We miss the quiet." On the 7th day, he returned. He had been recording, not for a label, for a promise. A vinyl, limited press, no streaming, no name on the cover. Just 5 notes carved into the surface, the first melody he ever played after his mother passed, and 1 word in lowercase letters on the back. Listen. He gave it away for free, 1 per person, but only if they promised to sit still and hear it once all the way through. No skipping, no multitasking, just listening. That vinyl now sits in dozens of homes, not because it's rare, but because it taught people how to be quiet again. He still plays every week, rain or shine. And when asked what he wants from the world now, Malik only says, "Less noise, more presence." One time, a young reporter tried to sum him up. A silent protester, a saxophone revolutionary, a son of power who rejected the throne, choosing truth instead. But Malik didn't like that headline, so he folded a napkin and left it under the reporter's notebook. "I didn't reject the throne. I just realized it was built from echoes, not voice. Because power without presence is just volume. But presence? Presence is music. And Malik? He's still out there, still folding napkins, still playing songs no one can hum, but everyone can feel, still turning silence into sanctuary. Not for applause, not for politics, not for history books, just for the girl who lost her father, for the mother who never got her song, for the janitor who hums on night shift, for the child holding his breath at school. He didn't need the name, just the voice, and it was always enough. If you've ever felt unheard, fold your own napkin, leave it behind. Someone, somewhere will pick it up. And listen. Thank you for staying until the end of this story. Maybe you're like Malik, someone who stayed silent thinking your voice wasn't loud enough. But the truth is, you don't need to shout to be heard. You just need to show up, like Malik, like the folded napkins left behind, whispering truth in a world too noisy to listen. And if you believe silence can be powerful too, drop a heart in the comments, or share this with someone still trying to find their voice.